Here's another example using the Pythagorean theorem to help us figure out the answer to this problem. So this problem talks about having a tree. So I'm going to pretend like this is a tree. And there's a point on the ground that is 48 feet from the base of the tree. So if this is the base of the tree, here's our tree up here. Then we have a point that's over here, and that point is 48 feet from the base of the tree. It says that the distance to the top of the tree, so from here to the top of the tree, and pretend like we're at the top here so that I can keep that triangle going. The distance to the top of the tree is 12 feet more than 2 times the height. So again, let's pretend we don't know how tall this is. So 2 times the height would be 2x, and it says it's 12 feet more than that, so I'm going to add 12. So now we have a right triangle, and we can do the Pythagorean theorem to help us solve this. So the Pythagorean theorem again says if I take this side right here and square it, and add it to this side right here and square it, I will equal the hypotenuse, which is the long side, the side that's across from the 90-degree angle. It will equal that distance squared. Like we've seen in the past, we have to expand. So this problem right here, I'm going to make a little triangle, assuming a little rectangle. We know that this is 2x and 12, 2x and 12. So this gives me 4x squared, 24x, 24x, and 144. So this side says 48 squared, which we can figure out with our calculator, is 2,304 plus x squared is equal to 4x squared. 24 and 24 is 48x, and 12 times 12 was 144. Before we can use the quadratic formula, we need to make this equation equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract x squared from both sides. It gives me 2304 is equal to 3x squared plus 48x plus 144. And then I'm going to subtract the 2304 to the other side. So that gives me 3x squared plus 48x plus 2160 is equal to 0. Again, when you put factor this, I'm going to use the quadratic formula. To make this problem slightly easier, I recognize that this number is divisible by 3, 48 is divisible by 3, and 2160 is divisible by 3. So I'm going to divide both sides of this equation by 3, just to make the numbers a little bit smaller. So when I divide this by 3, I get x squared. When I divide 48 by 3, I get 16x. And when I get 2160 divided by 3, I have 720. That will just make the numbers slightly smaller to work with, but it won't change the answers. So again, I know that x is equal to the opposite of b, so that's negative 16, plus or minus the square root of 16 squared, which is 256, minus 4 times 1 times 720. Sorry, this should be a negative number right here, otherwise we're going to have some trouble. When I take 144 and I subtract this, I get negative 2160, which makes this a negative 720, which makes this a negative 720. And I'm going to divide that by 2. So when I do this inside part with my calculator, I'm going to take 256 minus 4 times 1 times negative 720. So 256 minus 4 times 1 times negative 720 gives me the square root of 3136. And when I take the square root of that, I get 56. So this part right here is 56. So the two answers are negative 16 plus 56 divided by 2, or negative 16 minus 56 divided by 2. Again, in this answer over here, when I take negative 16 and I subtract 56, I'm going to get a negative number. And I know that my height of my tree can't be negative. So in this case, when I take negative 16 and I add 56, I get 40. When I divide that by 2, I get 20, which just told me x is equal to 20. When I look at my picture and I find x, what I have just found is that the height of my tree is 20 feet. And that is the solution to this problem.